If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw. Continuing our one-on-one with series, this week we're going to be replaying an interview that we did with Doug Jones last year when we talked with him about his work on the Hellboy franchise as Abe Sapien. If you've seen a tall, skinny creature in a film, it's probably played by Doug Jones. That's kind of become his calling card and what he's known for. He's been in multiple Guillermo del Toro films, namely Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy 1 and 2, and last year he was in Crimson Peak. We got to speak with him last year about his time on Hellboy, working with Guillermo del Toro, and what he's up to now, so enjoy that interview.
So how did you get involved with the Hellboy franchise?
Well, it was kind of like two reasons. One, previous relationships. One with the creature effects makeup designer, Steve Wang, who created the previous monsters for me, and he's the one who designed the movie look for Abe Sapien in Hellboy 1, and he was working at the Spectral Motion Creature Shop, headed up by Mike Elizalde, who I also was familiar with from before, and the sculptor Jose Fernandez that sculpted the maquette that was based off of this Abe Sapien design. I knew all three of them. And Guillermo del Toro, the director, I had worked for in Mimic in 1997. So there's all these pre-connections. So when they had sculpted the maquette to get Guillermo del Toro's his final approval on the design of this is what Abe Sapien will look like in Hellboy 1, they unveiled this little statuette for him, and legend has it that he fell to his knees when he saw this at the creature shop and said, "Oh, I am so fat." And, to which I think we think he meant, "What a beautiful thin creature this is." And all of the guys in the shop there were that I just mentioned kind of chimed in together because they'd all worked with me before and said, "You know who the perfect guy to play this is? Doug Jones." And that's when Guillermo del Toro said, "Doug Jones, I know Doug Jones." And he pulled my card out of his wallet that I gave him from 5 years earlier on. That's why I got a phone call.
And what was your exposure to the Hellboy comics in general before he called you?
Not much. No, in fact, I'm not a comic book reader beyond my childhood. With I was a Superman, Dick Tracy maybe reader, and the Archies. That was my comic book experience. As it gets, anything that I've read as an adult had to be because I got a job and I had to study up. So, I was like, Hellboy, that sounds demonic. So when I met with Guillermo and the whole gang, the day after that phone call came, I was handed a script for the movie, and then about 3 graphic novels that would kind of catch me up on the Hellboy folklore from Mike Mignola's comic books and in the Dark Horse world. So I did. I boned up on. I saw like a great relationship between Hellboy and Abe Sapien, and I saw his intellect and all that. And then, of course, in the movie, the script took Abe Sapien a step further and gave him that clairvoyant power where he can put his hands on things and sort of read them through telepathy or whatever that gift is. So it was a bit of catch-up I had to play quickly, though, because Guillermo, when he gave me the script and the graphic novels, he said, "So look everything over and get back to me by 11 o'clock tonight." This was like that afternoon. Like, okay, well, there goes today. But it's a happy way to spend your time.
Right. So then how did you sort of get into the mindset of an amphibious non-human character?
Well, right. I've played many, many non-human characters or human hybrid characters with something, whether it's animal or alien. And getting into the mindset is just reading the script, having a meeting with that director to figure out what elements and quirks need to be included in his ecosystem, both mentally and physically and emotionally and all that, and so you just kind of piece it together. If I was playing a World War II veteran, I might be able to find somebody in a nursing home that I could talk to and get a lot of answers out of. Mm-hmm. Not so much when you're talking about a fishman mutant. There isn't really a nursing home for those people. I don't know. Do they exist? I don't know. Maybe I could go interview a mermaid if I went on a deep sea fishing excursion. I don't know. So we kind of have to make it up as we go when you're talking about Fantasyland. So so I did a little bit of incorporating the fish from my home office fish tank and the way they moved and the way their heads were curiously darting around while their bodies were flowing so gloriously and fluidly behind, and their fins especially. So I took that fin motion and kind of incorporated that with my webbed-fingered hands once I was in the makeup. And his intellect was sort of a combination of smart people that I've known. My oldest brother Bob is a PhD in molecular biology, and so when he gets to talking, he sounds very much like Abe Sapien. Yeah.
And what was the process like to turn you into Abe Sapien?
Well, it was everything you think it would be. It was multiple hours. When you saw me in just shorts with all that blue fish guy showing, my torso exposed, my legs and arms exposed, you're looking at about a 7-hour makeup job for the first movie. 12 different prosthetic pieces glued together, blended edges, some of my skin showing, some prosthetic pieces showing. All of it had to be painted. Mm-hmm. So the glued-on pieces were pre-painted, but then I wasn't. So they had to do a lot of airbrushing to blend in my skin with what was showing, and it was quite a process, yeah. And by Hellboy 2, they streamlined that down to 5 hours by having less of my skin showing and covering me up more with more connected pieces. So we knocked it down from 12 prosthetic pieces down to more like 7 or 8, something like that. So it was a faster application process. And let me tell you, when you're doing a 7-hour makeup job, knocking off 2 hours of that is glorious. Even though 5 hours still sounds like a heck of a lot, which it is.
And when Abe Sapien blinks, the eyes close sideways and his gills move. How were those operated? Two
different things. The gills were mechanical, and they had batteries built in and motors built in. They were being puppeteered by a nice fellow off screen. Mark Satrakian is a genius when it comes to robotics and servo-motored mechanisms like that. So my gills were practical on set use. They were actually moving on my neck. and they were like right over my neck and ears. So there was this sound going on in my ears. It was really loud. So when I'm trying to hear the dialogue of my co-stars, and all I hear is as my gills are moving, it created a bit of a challenge. I couldn't see everybody very well either because my eyes were obliterated by those big blue, beautiful fish eyes that you could not see through. So I was peeking out of the tear ducts, basically. So I had a little triangle of vision on both eyes. So I had no periphery I could see. So I really had to zero in on what I was looking at and had to know the room ahead of time so that I wouldn't bump into things constantly, which I just did. I bumped into everything. But on film, I looked like I knew my way around because we'd been rehearsing so much. But so the blinking of those eyes, then there was not enough room to build in mechanics because it was very close to my own face, so it didn't have a whole lot of room. So that was some CG.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror. We'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
The enhancements. So that was done in post-production digitally.
Gotcha. And in Hellboy 2, you also played Chamberlain and the Angel of Death.
Good.
So how were those costumes in comparison to Abe Sapien?
Oh, still looking at about a 5-hour makeup application for either one, and very complicated with all kinds of mechanical bits and things. The Angel of Death was such a beautiful design by Norm Cabrera, also at Spectral Motion, and my makeup artist Tom Flouts and also Simon Weber from the UK would apply all of these to me. But it was, the Angel of Death was such, and again, I couldn't see in either one of them very well. The Angel of Death has no eyes in the face, so I was looking through the cracks that had formed in the face.
Uh-huh.
And the eyes, then, of course, built into those glorious wings. And those wings were not CG wings. Those were on my back, and they were mechanical, again, designed by the mechanics and the electronics and the robotics of it were designed by Mark Satrakian and puppeteered from somebody off camera. So I wore this huge pack on my back, which is about 40 pounds, and the wings then came off of that and were puppeteered, and all the eyes moved in unison or individually. It was just really quite a wonder of modern science. But it was so heavy that I barely made it through the rehearsal period that day before I was like, oh my gosh, my legs are giving out, and my back is. I lost my sense of humor, and so they had to kind of like devise a weight distribution contraption, like they attached a wire to a pulley up above me so they could pull some of the weight up, and then I got my sense of humor back. And then the Chamberlain was the little boxy-headed fellow that greeted Prince Nuada to the underworld when he came home to confront his father. Mm-hmm. and kill him and take a piece of the crown that he needed for the storyline. And so I was kind of like the doorkeeper of the throne room. Like, well, welcome home, sire. Your father's waiting for you. All that. And the hardest part of that was the eyes again were built way up high on my forehead, and so they just I had nothing to look through. So that and the hands, even though they were long and spindly fingers like my own, they were much longer and much more spindly and skinny. So they were puppeteered hands. So I was holding on to the elbow of these prosthetic arms. And, the finger motion was puppeteered by, again, the Mark Satrakian made mechanics and robotics. So we had to work in unison with each other, rehearsing the dialogue in that quick scene back and forth and the arm motion. So I was responsible for getting the arm to move, and the hands went along with that in unison with the fingers, being puppeteered by somebody else. So it takes a village to make these kind of characters come together. It really does. Mm-hmm.
And in the movies, Abe Sapien is voiced by...
In Hellboy 1, it was I was dubbed over later by David Hyde Pierce in an act by the studio to try and get butts in seats with a bigger name. By Hellboy 2, I was a name enough myself and had campaigned heavily to get the voice back. So I do voice Abe Sapien for the Hellboy 2. Gotcha.
And did you get to voice Chamberlain in the Angel of Death as well?
The Angel of Death, yes, was a process that we did with. We couldn't use any of the dialogue from the set because the teeth were so big in the Angel of Death that I couldn't close my lips over my teeth. So I sounded like this the whole time. It was awful. So I had to go back in and do some ADR voice looping. And we got to, I got to go over the dialogue with two voices. I did two passes at each line, one in a voice like this and one in a voice like this. So we kind of whispered every line and gravelized every line so that more than a whisper. It was more of a high pitch. It was more like, make the choice. It was up there like this, up here. There you go. And so they ran them together, and that's why you get that great sound off the Angel of Death.
So what was the shooting schedule like for the two Hellboy movies?
Well, it lived up to its name. It was hellish. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, was probably the more brutal for me, simply because I was in so much more of the film. The whole movie took about 6 months to shoot in Budapest, Hungary, working 6 days a week, and I was on for maybe 18 hours a day. It was the most brutal schedule I've ever kept in my life on any movie ever. And by the time I got home, there was a piece of myself missing. But as Guillermo del Toro said one day when he was coming up to me on set between shot setups, I was sitting in my little set chair, a little director's chair kind of a thing on set, and I heard his feet shuffling up, and he put his hand on my forearm, and he said, "I know we are killing you, my friend." And I was like, well, yes, you are killing me, but it's okay, there's love. And he says, well, the good news is there will be pilgrimages to your grave. So that was his one nice way of saying we're making a piece of art that will live on forever. So, in the end, it'll be worth it. And he was right. It was. Absolutely was.
And how did that shoot schedule compare to, you also voiced Abe Sapien in the animated films and the video games?
Oh, nothing to compare. Yeah, I did the video game voiceover work in 1 day. I did the animated films, Blood and Iron and Sword of Storms, in, I think that was roughly 3 days total between the two movies. So it's like, voiceover work is just so much faster. You don't have to go through a makeup process, A, and B, I was brought in by myself to do all my dialogue in one shot. So I didn't have the other characters there to even interact with. We were just going line by line, what's Abe say next and what scene, So it was much faster. Oh, much faster.
And so you've worked with Guillermo del Toro before. What is it sort of like to work with him in general?
Guillermo del Toro is an absolute dream to work with. He's my favorite director I've ever worked with, and every other director that comes along knows that they're vying for number two. And that's a happy thing for everybody, because any director I've ever met respects Guillermo so much. They all just love him and revere him even. So he truly is a genius, but he's also a fanboy. So he's got that lighthearted college guy friend of yours that you would hang out with anyway, He's got that vibe about him, but he's also just the most brilliant idea man ever that I've ever known in my life, ever. And his vision for artistry and for composition and meaning behind every prop, every color that's in his movies, it's all so intricately fleshed out ahead of time that it creates such a magical world for an actor to play in.
And similarly, what's it like to work with Ron Perlman? He went through the similar sort of makeup transition as you did.
Sure. Whenever you're working with another actor that's going through a heavy makeup process, it's a bonding thing because you feel like you're kind of in the trenches together. And it was after we had gone through all this on Hellboy 1 together. Our very first day of filming on Hellboy 2. Ron and I were sharing a makeup trailer that first day before they hadn't brought all the trailers in yet for some reason, because there was an entire Abe Sapien makeup trailer and an entire Hellboy makeup trailer. So we didn't really see each other during the process on a daily basis. But our first day, they threw us together in the same trailer in side-by-side chairs. We each had a team of 3 people around us, so it was a very crowded day. So when we were done with our filming day, we're both getting the teardown process is just ugly and brutal, but the makeup people do the best they can to keep us comfortable and to make it as pain-free as possible. But the removal, it's painstakingly slow because they have to remove the adhesive that's keeping those glued.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Prosthetic piece is glued to your skin, so you have to unglue it bit by bit so they don't damage your skin. It takes a while.
Right.
And so at the end of this, Ron and I are both sitting in our chairs just looking like we've been beat up. Covered with oily makeup removers, and he had bits of red stuck on his forehead, behind his ear. I had bits of blue stuck to my forehead and behind my ears, and we just kind of look over at each other with our hair messed up and shiny, oily stuff dripping from our foreheads. And he looked at me and he said, 6 days a week for the next 6 months. I was like, yeah, here goes nothing, Ronnie. So,
in Hellboy, the very first one, there's multiple parts where you're underwater, be it in the healing tank after the fight with Samael, and when you're in the sewers themselves. How do you do those shots where you're completely submerged like that?
Right. There were 2 things were happening. Some amazing digital CG work was being done. When you saw me from head to toe swimming, in the sewers underneath, the more full-bodied action shots were all CG, or you might have seen me hanging from a wire in a dry area that they added a water effect in later, and especially for the close-ups. So anything from the waist up or whatever. That was me just kind of moving slowly like I was in water. And then they added the water effect in later to make it look murky and a little more greenish, underwaterish looking-ish. So, it was a good combo platter of effects, practical and visual.
And in in the Golden Army, you fight the troll Mr. Wink.
Yeah.
And you sort of flip around and slide across that puddle and all that stuff. Is that a stuntman, or are you doing this?
That was a combo platter of CG, stuntman, and me. Like, again, it does take a village to make these characters happen. So when you saw Mr. Wink thrashing Abe Sapien back and forth behind the grated wall into that library or that bookstore, that was a CG version. And then when he comes crashing through that not wicker, but the lattice work, that would be a stuntman that took the fall through there and hit the ground. Then it was me finishing the roll up and then sitting up. And then when Mr. Wink comes out and I'm telling Princess Nuala to run off, go, get back, I'll take care of it. And then Mr. Wink comes out and I start flipping around in the water puddles all around his legs and getting through, pushing through here and doing acrobatic things and somersaults and whatnot to get away from him. That was all a second stunt person who was a specialist in that Brazilian fighting dancing sort of art.
Okay.
And so he jumped in to double me for that because it was a very stylized sort of getaway plan that Abe had. And then I would finish that up at the very end of that, and then continue the dialogue where I grab the princess and get behind Hellboy and he saves the day for us. But again, it takes a village.
So are there any particular stories that pop into your head from when you were working on the Hellboy movies, like particularly interesting interactions you had or accidents or whatever?
So gosh, I mean, mountains of them. We don't have time for all of them, of course, but the filming experience on Hellboy 1 and 2 both loom very large in my psyche and in my showbiz memories. Most of which is the bonding time that I had with my co-stars, both Ron Perlman and Selma Blair, especially. And Brian Steele, who played both Mr. Wink and Samael from Hellboy 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we all kind of we're a very bonded family because you are going through hell and back together. Ron Perlman, I think fun memory of him is when he one day they were calling us back from lunch a bit early so that because to keep, we were losing daylight and we had to get going, and and one of the assistant directors was coming up to say hey, can we get you guys back in quicker? And I am still have a half a plate full of food at lunch, and I'm kind of trying to shovel it in as fast as I can. I said, yeah, okay, sure, be right there. Ron Perlman is sitting right next to me. And he said, I'll come when Dougie's done eating. And then he leans into my ear and he says, Dougie, you can't be so nice. You're making me look like an ass. So, he's such a good, he's very much like a big brother to me, very protective. I love him dearly. And Guillermo del Toro is just he's good for so many funny quotes. He just goes on and on. What I love about him is, and he's still to this day, I've done 5 movies with him now, including the upcoming Crimson Peak, which comes out in theaters in October 16th. I play a couple of the ghosts in that movie. But one of my favorite things for him is when he'll show me some action that needs to happen ahead of time. When we're setting up a scene, he'll run through the physical action of it. You'll be standing here, I want you to grab this prop here, and then walk over to the right here, and you'll do your thing here, and then exit through that door or whatever. And he'll kind of walk through it for me so I can get a visual lay of the land. And what he always calls it is, so this, I'm going to show you the fat Mexican version first. So he does his thing, then I step in and do the skinny fish guy version. One of my favorite directions of his ever was when I think with Hellboy 2. I was going through I was bettering myself so I'd look pretty for the princess with the contact lenses and instead of wearing my goggles and there was also There's also a spritz machine, like sort of like a once a day inhaler kind of a thing for asthmatics. Something that really went over my gills, so I wouldn't have to wear the toilet seat thing around my neck. And that way I could feel like I was a little bit. It's sort of like a nerdy person taking off their glasses to impress the chicks, right? Well, this would be sort of like what Abe was going through with the princess living in BPRD with us. And so, but the setup for this one little scene, he was showing like I had to work with several different props and do one thing after another to show this Abe's self-improvement plan. And we went through one take of this, like step one, step two, do this, do that, put this prop up, put it back down on the table. I went through the action as the camera was sort of like circling around me. And after take one, Guillermo yells, "Cut! Doug Jones, you're boring me to tears." So that was his way of saying, pick up the pace. Got it. So, his direction is always, he knows if he makes me laugh, I'll do whatever he says.
So, of all of the different sort of creature suits that you've had to wear, was Abe Sapien one of the hardest to work in?
Once it's on you, it was just fine. The hardest ones to work in are usually the costumes that with a mechanical head that plops over your own and buckles down, and the suit that you slip into and zip up the back. That's more of a suit, and a makeup is something that you go through and get glued onto your skin, right? So yes, the difficulty. Each one has its own set of difficulties. The makeups. The difficult part is that 5 to 7 hours that you sit in getting it on. And once it is on you, you've got to be careful how you sit, where you sit, how you lie down, if you can take a nap at lunchtime or not, whatever. Are you ruining something? And you've got, finger extensions glued onto your hands, and so it's harder to use utensils, it's harder to go to the bathroom, blah, 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 blah. But when the camera rolls, you're relatively comfortable. The flip side is with a suit, with a slip in and zip up the back, and they're usually heavier, they're usually much hotter, and you even though you can take it off, it takes like 20 minutes to a half hour to get on, so it's much quicker. But when the camera's rolling, it is heavier, it is hotter, you're less comfortable, you have something pinching you somewhere, some kind of hard edge that's digging into some joint somewhere on your body, something. So when the camera's rolling, suits are much less comfortable than makeups. So everything has its issues. So as makeups go, Abe Sapien was the most elaborate I'd ever worn. It might have been, on the difficulty scale, it was up there at a 9 out of 10, I'd say, sure.
All right, well, IMDb has you listed as working on a whole host of things in various stages of production.
Yeah, about 4 of them are big lies, or things I said yes to that never ever happened, and they've been renewing them for every year. I don't know, but yes, but there's a lot of the red marks on my IMDb page are legitimate.
So are there any of those that you'd like to talk about while I have you here?
Well, I mentioned Crimson Peak. That's on there. It'll be coming out in theaters October 16th, and it's Guillermo's next big masterpiece. It's a Victorian haunted house story, and the cast is amazing. Tom Hiddleston, Jessica Chastain, Charlie Hunnam, and Nia Wasikowska, who played Alice in Wonderland. She's the lead actress of it. Really, it's her story you're going to be following, and it's a beautifully written, beautiful story. And the sets were the haunted house itself is just a glorious set, and it becomes kind of a character of its own in the movie. So that's very exciting. Otherwise, I also have my final. I'm a series regular as an alien on Falling Skies.
As Cochise.
The final as Cochise, correct. And so our final season of the entire show is starting June 28th, every Sunday night on TNT at 10 o'clock, 9 Central. You'll be able to see the Falling Skies gang try to wrap up the big battle, the big war with the Ishveni aliens who took over Earth. So that'll be playing all summer long, and we have 10 episodes. If they're shorter seasons, so it'll be June 28th into August, and then we'll wrap up that series for you. Also, Guillermo del Toro's TV show The Strain on FX channel I have 2 more episodes of that coming in season 2, including the season opener, which is mid-July sometime. I'll be reprising my character of the Ancient Vampire. I'm the leader of the Ancients. And in the season opener, on episode 1 of season 2, I also do a flashback scene as another ancient sort of vampire. It's a flashback that will tell you how the Master became the Master, and I might be involved in that somehow. Then, other than that, I also have a movie that just came out on video on demand. That would include Amazon and iTunes and a lot of your cable systems, like Apple TV, Google Plus, Google, or whatever it is. Anyway, that movie is called Always Watching, a Marble Hornets story. And that is inspired by the Slender Man legend. And the Marble Hornets, it was a web series that was extremely popular. They kind of took the Slender Man character and made it into something a little bit different. The Operator is what the character's name is. Still a sort of a faceless, a featureless face with a black suit, black tie, and he lurks sort of in the shadows. But the folklore behind the Operators is a bit different. He's not abducting children into the woods. He's actually sort of like controlling those who seek him. Get sucked in by his power, and then he kind of puppeteers them to self-destruct and destroy each other. So you'll see this found footage movie where this team of people is trying to get away from the Operator. But by doing so, they're always looking for him to run from him, and by doing that invites him in. So it's sort of a reality video camera, found footage thing that it's actually a very exciting, fun ride. And it's going to be doing a limited theatrical run starting in theaters across the country, about 10 cities, starting May, this coming Friday, May 15th.
Okay.
It'll start running in theaters in 10 cities. So I would just say, look at your local movie listings and see if Always Watching, a Marble Hornets story is playing near you. I'll say that. And also, just recently, of course, by the time this podcast airs, it'll probably be done and gone. But if you look at, you can go to CW-TV. That would be the CW Network's website, CWTV.com, and you can look at episode number 319. That's season 3, episode 19 of Arrow. And you can see my character, Deathbolt. It's a DC Comics character that is a supervillain.
Mm-hmm.
Deathbolt was introduced on episode 319 of Arrow a couple weeks ago. And tonight, actually, it is Tuesday, May 12th right now, I'm reprising Deathbolt on an episode of The Flash, joining a lot of the other metahuman rogues in a very big, humongous showdown that's happening near the end of the Flash season here. So that's episode number 122, season 1, episode 22.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that one. I watch The Flash every week.
Oh, great.
And my last question for you is the listing of Hellboy 3 one of the things on your IMDb listing that's not entirely...
Well, it's you see what's in parentheses is rumored,
right?
Because it's rumored. It's not. Yeah, there's no one official from any studio or any Dark Horse Entertainment or Universal Pictures, and that didn't come from them. So I think IMDb is one of those websites that people can add to, much like Wikipedia. So if somebody gets excited about something and slaps it up there. No one officially's taken it down yet.
Mm-hmm.
Been there for quite a while, Hellboy 3, but no one's called me to say we're on.
Right.
So we all want to do it. Guillermo wants to direct it. He's got another story that he's always wanted to finish up the trilogy. Ron and Selma and Jeffrey Tambor and me, we would all love to do it. But when everybody wants to do it and it's not being done, I would guess it's a money issue. I have no idea. I'm not the spokesperson for it. So.
All right. right, so big thanks as always to Doug Jones for sitting down and talking with us about Hellboy. You can check out more interviews and podcasts over at cultureshocked.com/culturecast. We're also available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and all podcast apps. Big thanks as always to Evoca for the intro-outro music. That song you're hearing is Lament off of their self-titled first album, and you can check them out over at wovoca.bandcamp.com. And as always, if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/culture_shocked. Kick a couple dollars our way. Every little bit helps. We'll be coming back to you again in 2 weeks to provide another one-on-one with interview, so make sure to check that one out.